Thank you, Prabhu. So today is prosa verse, so there is no repetition today. I'll just read it. Attatatra bhavan kim devadatvat yaguna visargapatitaha paratantrenya svakrita kushala kushalam param upadadati ahusvit atmarama upashama shilaha samanjasa darshana udasta itiha bhavana vidamaha. And we can take word for word together. Atha, therefore, tatra, in that, bhavan, your lordship, kim, whether, devadattavat, like an ordinary human being, forced by the fruits of his activities, iha, in this material world, guna visarga patitaha, fallen in a material body, impelled by the modes of material nature, paratantriyena, by dependence on the conditions of time, space, and nature, svakrita, executed by oneself, kushala, auspicious, akushalam, inauspicious, haram, results of action, upadadati, accepts, ahusvit, or atmarama, completely self-satisfied, upashama shilaha, self-controlled in nature, samanjasa darshana, not deprived of full spiritual potencies, udaste, remains neutral as the witness, iti, thus, ha-vava. So the first two letters is H and A, ha, and then V-A-V-A, vava. So it's ha, vava. Certainly. Na vidama. We do not understand. And then the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Isa Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. These are our inquiries. The ordinary conditioned soul is subject to the material laws, and he thus receives the fruits of his actions. Does your Lordship, like an ordinary human being, exist within this material world in a body produced by the material laws? Do you enjoy or suffer the good or bad results of actions under the influence of time, past work, and so forth? Or, on the contrary, are you present here only as a neutral witness, who is self-sufficient, free from all material desires, and always full of spiritual potency, we certainly cannot understand your actual position. Please repeat after me. These are our inquiries.
These are our inquiries.
The ordinary conditioned soul is subject to the material laws, and it thus receives the fruits of his actions. Does your Lordship, like an ordinary human being, exist within this material world, in a body produced by the material modes? Do you enjoy or suffer the good or bad results of actions under the influence of time, past work and so forth? Or, on the contrary, are you present here only as a neutral witness, who is self-sufficient, free from all material desires, and always full of spiritual potency? We certainly cannot understand your actual position. And then the purport. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he descends this. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he descends to this material world for two purposes, namely, Paritrahanaya sadhunam, Vinashaya cha duskritam, to relieve the devotees and kill demons or non-devotees. These two kinds of action are the same for the absolute truth. When the Lord comes to punish the demons, he bestows his favor upon them. And similarly, when he delivers his devotees and gives them relief, he also bestows his favor. Thus, the Lord bestows his favor equally upon the conditioned souls. When the conditioned soul gives relief to others, he acts piously. And when he gives trouble to others, he acts impiously. But the Lord is neither pious nor impious. He is always full in his spiritual potency, by which he shows equal mercy to the punishable and the protectable. The Lord is apapa vidham. He is never contaminated by the reactions of so-called sinful activities. When Lord Krishna was present on this earth, he killed many inimical non-devotees, but they all received sarupya. In other words, they returned to their original spiritual bodies. One who does not know the Lord's position says that God is unkind to him, but merciful to others. Actually, the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:29, Samaham sarvabhuteshu namedveshu astina priyaha. I am equal to everyone, no one is my enemy and no one is my friend. But he also says, Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. If one becomes my devotee and full surrenders unto me, I give him special attention. So that ends the purport, and I'll repeat the verse again. Atha tatra bhavam kim deva dattavat ihago navisarga patita paratantriyena svakrita kushala kushalam palam upadadati ahosvit atma rama upashama shilaha samanjasa darshala udastahiha bhavana vidamaha. These are our inquiries. The ordinary conditioned soul is subject to the material laws, and he thus receives the fruits of his actions. Does your Lordship, like an ordinary human being, exist within this material world in a body, produced by the material modes? Do you enjoy or suffer the good or bad results of actions under the influence of time, past work, and so forth? Or, on the contrary, are you present here only as a neutral witness, who is self-sufficient, free from all material desires, and always full of spiritual potency? We certainly cannot understand your actual position. So, we have a few points to mention in regards to this verse, which are found other places in the scriptures. Let us start with the very beginning of the verse. It starts with the word atha, which means therefore. Here is a similarity to the start of the Vedanta Sutra. which also starts with the word Atam. Can anybody say the verse? In Vedanta Sutra, the first verse starting with Atam. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. And that means, Atam means, as we saw here, therefore. So therefore, Brahma Jigyasa, we should inquire about Brahman. So in the Sanskrit it's only said Atam, and therefore, but the translation becomes, these are our inquiries. So one can understand that very meaningful word, and the deeper meaning behind, as is very characteristic with the scriptures, with Bhagavatam, is that each word is so full of meaning according to context. So in the broad context of the Bhagavatam, the word Atam means, in this context, it means that therefore, because there are many questions a human being has. So just as in the Vedanta Sutra, the word Atai, it means not just therefore, but it means because therefore we have a human body. Because we have a human body, therefore. So it's a whole big sentence before. So one has, in other words, to be one has to be a Brahman to understand the Vedic scriptures. One has to be an inquirer into Brahman, a Brahma Jigyasa person, to at all understand the Vedas. Or we need to get them explained by a person who is a Brahman. A Brahman means a person who is connecting with Brahman. We are also Brahmachari. That means we are walking the path. We are living the life in Brahman. Brahmachari iti Brahmachari. Meaning of Brahmachari is we should live like Brahman, we should live in Brahman. So in other words, Atata Brahma Jigyasa, we should live our life inquiring about Brahman. So in that way, Atta, it doesn't only mean, therefore it also means that one is inquiring. In this context, it is translated like that. One has an inquisitive nature. We all have inquisitive natures. As human beings, we want to know things. As Prabhupada says one place in Bhagavatam, the whole life is about questions and answers. One person questions and another person answers. But now that we are human beings, Atha Brahma Jigyasa, we should question about Brahman. We should rather question about the meaning of life. Brahman means God, or the absolute truth, or it means God, the absolute truth, the highest thing in existence. So that we should use human life for, the important thing, not things that are less important. First thing first, the most important thing first, and then the other less important things, they should then be taken care of. So that's why we have taken to the Krishna consciousness movement, we are very serious about the important thing. We are serious about Brahman, the spiritual aspect, which is, as Vedanta Sutra explained, why is it important to inquire about Brahman? Well, it is because Janmadi Asya Yataha. Because from Brahman, then everything is created. That's why we should inquire about Brahman. Because we are created. So where do we come from? We also come from Brahman. So that's why we should inquire, where do we come from? Why do we have this question? We know we have a mother and a father, but we also understand that the mother and the father also has to come from somewhere. And we're living in the world, but that also has to come from somewhere. Our mother and father is not supreme. They're not God. That's why we have inquiries. If our mother and father was God, then we wouldn't have inquiries. That's why we can understand that we're actually not born from the mother and father. Actually, we must come from somewhere else. Something else has to be our source, not just the material nature. This is all present in the consciousness of a living entity. How can this be? It is because we have the super soul in the heart. He's impelling us, he's inspiring us to have these questions. So that's why we have a need to get these questions answered. Otherwise the need wouldn't even be there. That's why it's natural that we inquire about Brahman, that we have inquiries. So that means that if somebody is not inquiring about Brahman, he's repressing his true nature of being a Brahma Jigyasa. He's repressing himself. Often we may hear the accusation to the Hare Krishna movement, or anybody who takes to religious life, that one is repressing oneself. But actually it's all the way around. They are repressing themselves, those who live material life, because they repress their inquiry about Brahman. They repress their inborn, innate nature to want to understand what is the meaning of life, where do I come from. They repress their natural tendency to want to understand what is the meaning of the existence, who is God, what is the deeper purpose of things, why is all these things created. People who live a materialistic life for sense gratification, they don't know that the goal is actually Vishnu. Durase ye bhai artamanina. So that's why they live very troublesome lives. Bhai artamanina, they have a mind which goes after the external sense objects. So in that way, they're repressing their soul and they are suffering. They're suffering false identification with the material body, and thus they're undergoing the miseries, burning threefold miseries of material nature. So the demigods are showing for us that we should have inquiries. So their questions are about the nature of God. Is God like a human being, or is he different? It's a fact that the God, he incarnates. He takes on human shape. Queen Kunti also had a similar inquiry to Krishna. In the 8th chapter of the 1st canto, she says, Naveda kaschit bhagavans chikirsitam tavaiyamalasyan rinam vidamanam. The normal person in human society, in Rinam, people, vidamanam, they're also bewildered. They don't know. They can't understand the true nature of God. Nayasya kaschit daita astikayashit tveshas chayasmin vishamama rinam. They cannot understand that it seems like the Lord is favoring somebody, and at the same time he's inimical towards someone else. Because somebody has a seemingly good material life, another person has a seemingly bad material life. So immediately it will seem that providence or God is favoring somebody and being inimical towards someone else. But what they don't understand is that God is absolute, He is beyond the dualities of even love and hate. Because the materialistic mind is full of dualities. It it always measures things according to sense gratification, good and bad for the senses. So the conditioned person, he will think that God is good if he gives good things for sense gratification, and God is bad if he gives trouble for the senses, or bad, but the opposite of sense gratification. So in that way, the living entity will never understand God. Because what goes on in material nature, that is the Lord's external energy. That is only going on according to karma. So a person who has knowledge, he will understand that whatever good is happening to the senses of a person, that is due to his good karma. And whatever bad is happening to the senses of a person, that is due to his bad karma. It is not more complicated than that. Now another thing, a higher thing, is what is God's purpose beyond karma. That is given by the Vedic scriptures. One cannot understand God without getting that information from a higher source. The inquiry about Brahman is always like this. It has to be... The inquiry has to... When we ask a question, we have to question somebody. So who are we going to go to get the highest questions answered? Now this is the thing. So that's why it said that the living entity is conditioned by the material nature. Therefore Krishna is incarnated as Veda Vyas. So he, by his mercy, is giving the Vedic scriptures. And Krishna, he has also incarnated as the spiritual master. He's coming with the conditioned soul, also has his inner guide, the super soul. So these three features, he's giving his mercy to the living entity, so that he can get all his inquiries satisfied. So one has to go to a person who is Tattvadarshina, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, one will not get the inquiry about Brahman fulfilled. We cannot get it by reading even the Vedas independently. We have to get the Vedas explained by a Tattvadarshina person. Evam parampara praptam. Evam. Krishna is referring to the Raja Vidya, Raja Guru. He's referring to the highest kind of knowledge, the most confidential knowledge. This knowledge can only be understood through the cyclic succession of Guru Parampara. Sampradaya vihinaye mantrastu nishparamataha. If all these mantras of the Vedas, if you read them, but if you don't get them explained by a person in the Sampradaya, in the cyclic succession, we will not get the result of all these mantras. So that's why the demigods here, they're praying directly to Krishna. They're now having their darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada also explains that we have to inquire either directly to the Supreme Lord Himself, to God Himself, if you are so lucky to have His darshan. If you don't have His darshan, if you're not speaking to the Lord Himself, then you have to speak to His pure representative. Either of the two, otherwise we will not get the inquiry about Brahman fulfilled. So then, what the demigods are inquiring about is if the Lord is like an ordinary human being who suffer good and bad results of actions under the influence of time, past work, and so forth. Or on the contrary, is he just here as a neutral witness who is self-sufficient, free from all material desires, and always full of spiritual potency? Now this is also explained by the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, which is expanding on the Vedanta Sutra. Srimad Bhagavatam is an expansion of the Vedanta Sutra. It's very, very nicely tied in with the verses of Vedanta Sutra. So, as the Vedanta Sutra is saying, Janmadhyasya Yataha, that Brahman, that is the person from whom everything is created. Then the Bhagavatam in the first verse is immediately saying, Janmadhyasya Yataha Alayad Itaratas Chatesh Abhigya Svarat. It's giving more information about the Absolute Truth. That Absolute Truth is also all cognizant. He is omnipresent, omniscient, and he is also fully independent, Svarat. So there the question is answered of the demigods. Are you self-sufficient, fully self-sufficient? Yes. Bhagavatam answers, Svarat. The Supreme Absolute Truth is self-sufficient, totally independent. He is beyond the gunas. He is not a guna visargapatita. So one who has fallen down into the actions and the reactions of the gunas. The gunas are goodness, passion, and ignorance. The Lord is explained to be nirgun, beyond the influence of the gunas. So he's full of spiritual potency. Krishna is controlling the whole world through his spiritual potency and his material potency. And in that way, we are getting our energy also. Our energy to live is coming from the Lord. And we certainly cannot understand their actual position. That is also a fact. Even though we get all this information from the Vedas, still it's said that the Supreme Lord is still inconceivable to us. But we can understand him to some extent. But not by logical discussion. Like for example, that the Lord is present here, but at the same time he is not here. And this is a material contradiction. We cannot be that. We cannot be both here and not here at the same time. For the Lord it is possible. Krishna is fully the same person as his name. Abhinatvam nama namina. At the same time, when he says his name, he is also in Goloka Vrindavan. Goloka eva nivashati akilatma bhuta. He is always in Gokul. But at the same time, he is expanding himself. So he is also in Mathura and he is also in Dwarka. He is also in Vaikuntha planet. Now the spiritual world is divided into these sections. The world is divided into two sections. The existence is the material world and the spiritual world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita to Sanatana Goswami. The Lord is empowering the living entities in the material world to act according to their desires, and is giving them whatever they desire according to karma. There are unlimited material universes, and there are also unlimited spiritual planets in the Vaikuntha planets. And then another section of the spiritual world is Gokul, which is for the devotees who are on a closer, more intimate relationship with the Lord. In the Vaikuntha planets, the living entities can only have a relationship with the Lord in neutral or servitor mood, Shanta or Dasya ras. But in the cool planets, then there is also, in addition to the two others, there is also